Hello everybody, and welcome to this month's Anime Paint Night. Happy New Year! And to celebrate the New Year, we are going to be doing Okarun from Dandadan, and this turbo version as well. So, you'll also have the reference sheet in addition to the line art inside of your kit. If you requested one, you should also have a watercolor palette with a brush included. Outside of that, that should be it. Just make sure you've got a cup of water, the watercolors, some paper towel. Let's get started. Alrighty, so as per usual, we're going to go ahead and start with the skin tone, but only on one side of our painting here of Okarun. We're going to start with his human side, his calmer side and stuff like that. I'll be the first to tell you that at the recording of this, I have not actually seen Dandadan and stuff like that. I like the premise a lot, and I feel comfortable sharing the premise. It's not a spoiler and stuff like that. If you look into Dandadan, this is like literally the basic premise. So, basic premise of it, we have a guy, Okarun, believes in aliens, doesn't believe in ghosts. Meets a young lady, she believes in ghosts, doesn't believe in aliens. Literally, she gets abducted by aliens, and Okarun, as you can see here, he gets possessed by a spirit. And the anime is basically their misadventures and stuff like that, you know, saving the world, what have you. I assume they're saving the world, maybe not. Their misadventures for certain. I think that's an excellent premise, and to be perfectly honest, probably by the time that this video actually launches, I would have already seen it. So that's where I'm going to stand. But the skin tone, usually we're just using the brown and we're using a little bit of the eggshell combined together. It's a little bit light, but it's still accurate. So let's move on. So where we've moved on to, next we're going to go for the black. Black is going to be a color that we're going to see a lot in this anime paint night. So first, again, just sticking with his side. Oh, by the way, you know, you don't necessarily have to follow the pattern that I do. You can definitely focus on whatever side of Okarun, or you could, like, you know, toss back and forth. It's totally fine, what have you. You don't even have to stay accurate to the reference sheet. You can do whatever you'd like. You can make it however you like. But for now, for me being accurate, I'm going to be going for the black, and I'm just going to be filling out his uniform, school uniform, like so. Alright, not too much like other colors going on with Okarun's design. There is some yellow in the buttons later on, but we're gonna touch on that a little bit later. But we just want to make sure that the paint is smooth and spread out as much as we can. It's watercolor, so it is what it is. Reminding you that we also like to be generous with the water if we want to just be able to spread the paint and the color with a little bit more ease. So as you can see, we've moved to the eyebrows, which is same color, black. And in addition, what we're also going to be doing is starting to I think the choice of making his hair is also black. So we're just going to cover
a good decision.
The majority
now that we're done with that, let's move on to our next spot.
The human side of Okarun's like design, like with all the areas that are literally black. That's what we're just going to cover and stuff like that. I like his design a great deal. Just like his human design, period. Like, I vibe with it. I know in the beginning, I think he has like a traditional bowl cut and stuff like that. So like Kid Gohan back in Dragon Ball Z after, it was like the Cell arc and stuff like that. He had that bowl cut and stuff. He used to have that, but I think post him getting possessed, he has like more scraggly hair, and the wild hair I'm vibing with. I like it. The unkempt nature is very cool. I like it a lot. Even though it's not necessarily like, again, not super vibrant in the colors and stuff like that, I think his eyes really do a great job in being like conveying that level of emotion and that depth that we need to like contrast his very like, you know, like low color appearance and stuff like that, you know. I think the choice of making his hair black is just a good decision. So now that we're done with that, let's move on to our next spot. for the next part, we're just going to go get a little bit of the eggshell and the brown once again, and we're going to finish up the areas that we did not complete when we were doing the skin tone at first. So we're going to do the ear and a little bit of that skin tone underneath the glasses. Because it's underneath the glasses frames itself, we don't need to like go as thick with the pigment. Not that we did it thick before. So also, we're going to work on the eyes. The eyes are the color brown. I can definitely say that I really enjoy Okarune's eyes. I really appreciate how optimistic it conveys, and if it's not optimism, if not determination, I would also say that it conveys innocence very well. I like that being the stark contrast between his turbo form as well. So I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, I like it a lot. As you can see, we're doing a little bit more of the pigment under the glasses frames, still keeping it light. And then we'll go ahead and get the black, add a little bit of shading underneath the collar, inside the collar, and then that'll be it. Let's move on to our next portion. Our next section is going to be now working on the turbo side, like when he's possessed by the spirit and stuff like that. So we're gonna go for the black, and then we're gonna mix it up with a little bit of the eggshell and the brown, so that we can lighten up the black to make it a little bit gray, and then having the brown have a little bit of the remnant of the skin tone still present and accounted for. There's not a lot of skin tone present and accounted for that's like available to paint, but there still is some. So like by the nose, the forehead, and once again underneath the glasses frames and the ear. Still keeping the same concept. We don't have to go too hard on the pigment underneath the glasses frames, just making sure that the pigment is there. That is what is important. Right above the eyes there. Very good. Yep, there you go. Can't forget that part. Then I think I get the ear here. I wonder if I remembered or not. I'm very curious. So let's see what I actually target next. No, I actually start doing the jaws of life, I like to call them. They're his mask and stuff like that he's wearing, like the big old teeth and such. The jawline right here and the upper part of the mask as well is going to be black. So we're just going to go ahead and target those areas first. It's a little bit lighter underneath like the beak of the mask right there. And then you can start like getting a little bit more black pigment to make the one right underneath his nose a little bit more prominent in regards to black. There you go. So from there, curious what I do next here. Do I target? Ah, yes, I remember the ear. There we go. So we went back to doing the skin tone a little bit. There we go. Excellent. All right. I'm curious, what did I do next? Oh, yes, I did the framing right over here. All right. Good. And I did a little bit of shading in the gear that's kind of holding the mask together. All right. What's next? I'm trying to think, actually. Oh, look at that. I don't even know. Okay, so then I start a little bit of his uniform on the turbo side. There we go. One of the things you notice is that I don't necessarily try to fill it completely with the pigment. I'm leaving some white because if you notice in the reference sheet, his uniform kind of like becomes like blood red a little bit on the edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to blend the red and the black together in this first portion. I was nervous about doing this part because I was just like, oh, how am I going to convey this? But if you want to try to do this, it's definitely pretty easy, as a matter of fact. Just start with the black, be generous with the water, and start blending the red with the black together. And it actually works out pretty nicely. It creates a nice little gradient, just blending the two colors together and having that in between. And so after we do that, I'm pretty satisfied with it, at least this first portion of it, and then I feel more confident to continue on. So let's continue on together. continuing, I take a little bit of break from the cloak, and I go right for the red, and we're going to do the markings underneath and above his eyes and such. They do an excellent job at drawing attention to the, face, his eyes specifically. In addition, the contrast between the again, muted color scheme that he's really sporting, right? The muted color scheme that he had before he transformed, but that red, it is so distinct. I think it's really, really beautiful. They did a great choice for that visual design. And in addition, the eye is also red. We just want to make sure that that's conveyed proper. Then we're going to do the pupil, just making sure that we clean the brush first. Get a little bit of that black pigment there for the eyebrows. It's strange. His hair is white in this form, right? But his eyebrow is so furrowed. It's still black and stuff like that, which is fascinating. We're going to do some shading underneath the eyes just to give him that tired, exhausted, kind of serious look and stuff. Again, goodness gracious. The heavy contrast between this little innocent boy on the left and this form that he's got going on right now, it is stark. And I think they did a really good job with it. I think they really did. So we're going to add a little bit of shading in the the veins and the wrinkles up underneath his forehead. Add a little bit of that darkness right underneath the hair for the shading. Smooth that out a little bit, and let's move on. We're almost done. So now we're going to go back to the cloak. So first things first, I went for the black pigment and I started working underneath as if they were flames. I really, really appreciate the fact that the cloak kind of feels alive now. So I'm going to keep it very wispy. Then on the bottom part of here, I'm going to start adding a little bit of the red, blending it upward into the upper part of the cloak. It's almost as if it's not, you can't even tell it's clothing anymore. It's more of he's engulfed in flame. So then we're going to go for the red, and we're going to start at the tippy top of where his extended collar is. Very Dracula, very Bram Stoker's Dracula and stuff. Love it. So then we're going to go ahead and get a little bit of red here, start painting downward, not connecting all the way through because we do want to blend with the black. So just stretch it as far as we can at first. Then we're going to go for the black, starting being generous with it, and we're going to start blending all the way through as much as we can. You can be free with this one. You have a lot of liberty of freedom with this, then feel free to bounce back and forth to your comfort level with the red and the black. My main goal was just to have a clear gradient and a little bit of a I wanted it to definitely feel like a flame. I wanted it to feel a little bit alive and moving and stuff. So I definitely blended the red and the black together. And I always wanted to make sure I had brushed upwards or downwards, just to make sure that the flow of the paint strokes kind of match up. Then we're gonna go with the hair. Oh my goodness, I love this part. So I really enjoyed the hair. I really like the fact that it's outlined in red. The outline is red and stuff. I know my line art has to have black and stuff like that, but the fact that it still works, even if we go over the black lines with the red, is super cool. I love it. And I love the heavy red streaks and stuff that I'm about to convey right there. There you go. I love the heavier red streaks. It's shading, but also highlights, and I love that. It's so pretty, so pretty. It makes the hair stand out so nice. It almost reminds me a little bit about Gear 5th Luffy a little bit, with his lavender and stuff like that. But awesome. Let's move on. All right, from here we're pretty much done, but we just got a little bit more detail. So the button, right? I'm gonna get a little bit of yellow, maybe get a little bit of black for the shading and stuff like that. And speaking of shading, that's pretty much what we're going to be focusing on in this section. We're just going to go back and add a little bit of shading in areas that I think would help with a little bit of depth and stuff like that. So first we're gonna do a little bit of that shading underneath his cheek, inside of his ear, and where the hair begins to like block a little bit of his forehead and stuff like that. Going around underneath the neck, following those hash marks and stuff like that, just to make sure that it conveys nicely. And now his skin tone is popping out a little bit more, stuff like that. Still maintained it, had a little bit of shading underneath that lip there, so you can kind of like add like a little bit of a chin distinction and stuff. Then next, what we're going to do, I wonder what I do next. Oh yes, the teeth, right. So I lighten up the black so it's like gray and stuff like that. And what I do is I go to each digit of the teeth and I only do half of the teeth in the shading and stuff like that, making sure that they're still clearly white, just to make sure that they have a little bit of depth to them, a little bit of shading and stuff. If you look on the reference sheet, it does it justice very, very well. But pretty much that's it, honestly. You all did a fantastic job. Welcome to the new year, and it's really, really good to have you all for our next season for Anime Paint Night. See you in February for Toradora with Ai Sakataiga and Herbo Thing. So, I'll see you later. Thanks so much. You did a fantastic job. Bye-bye now.